Hello class, this is for question number, or letter A. It says you have the formula there, so go to letter A rather. I'm going to go ahead and go through these. You have several things you have to do. They're not going to be in order, so make sure you recognize that. The first one says write as a word problem. So in your PDF, go to A and go to how do you write it as a word problem. You should be able to do this pretty handily. First of all, you look at this here. That is CH4. We should know that's methane. And we see that as oxygen gas. This is a yield sign. This is carbon dioxide, and this is water. We should know this. So all you have to do to put this out, once you know this, all you have to say is methane reacts with oxygen gas to produce carbon dioxide and water. Pretty simple. Let's go to the next requirement. Type of chemical reaction. As you can see, it's combustion. But let's see why. Yesterday we went over the abbreviated ways to remember these easily. We said that synthesis was small plus small is bigger, and decomposition was bigger, breaks down to smaller and smaller, and combustion had to be a molecule of a hydrocarbon, which means it's a molecule that only has hydrogen and carbon as components. And this is correct here, is a hydrocarbon. And it has to react with oxygen gas, which is what this is, to produce just carbon dioxide and water. So this is exactly what it is. So it's number 3. I would suggest you don't go any further. You just do these in the same order, and that's fine. If you need more information on these, we covered these yesterday, but go to your reference table and go to page 6 underneath the solubility rules, and you'll find those. But this is a combustion reaction. So the type of chemical reaction is combustion. Now you have to balance this. I already have it balanced for you, but I'm going to show you how to do this. You have 1 methane. You have 2 oxygen gases. These are coefficients. 1 carbon dioxide and 2 waters. You can change these coefficients. They can change. You might do 2 methanes. You might need 3 methanes, but you cannot change the subscripts. If you change these subscript, that means you're changing the molecule that it is. It's no longer methane. For example, if you put this in O3, that's no longer oxygen gas. It turns it into ozone. If you put a 2 right here underneath the oxygen, you don't have water anymore. You have hydrogen peroxide, which is toxic. So make sure you recognize that. So let's go ahead and balance those. So let's see if I can get the balance screen. Okay, the balance screen. Okay, the balance screen. What I've done is I went ahead and I wrote down the blank formula for you, and then I took the liberty of the first thing you should always do at the yield sign. You should draw a line down, dividing it from the reactants to the products. Then you list how many is in there already. You have 1 carbon, you have 4 hydrogens and 2 oxygens on the left. You have 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens, and 2 plus 1, 3 oxygens on the right. These all have to balance. You see you have 1 carbon and 1 carbon, they're good. Go down to the hydrogens. You have 4 hydrogens on the left, 2 on the right, so you have to do something to that. You can change the coefficients, but you can't change the subscripts, like I said. So go ahead and put a 2 there. So that changes the hydrogens now to a 4, so you're good. But it also changed the number of oxygens. Now instead of having 3, you have 2 plus 2 more. Now you have 4 oxygens, so you have to do 4 there. Then you go back and you start again. You have 1 carbon on the left, 1 on the right, 4 hydrogens on the left, 4 on the right, 2 oxygens on the left, 4 on the right. The way you can make this have 2, instead of having 1 molecule of oxygen gas, you can now use 2 oxygen gas. There it's balanced. There it's balanced for you. Okay? Simple one. I think we did this yesterday, as a matter of fact. Now that it's balanced, then you know how to balance that. Go through the steps of the ones that you have to do. Now that you have it balanced, I went ahead and I wrote down the balanced equation here for you. 1 methane plus 2 oxygen gases yields 1 molecule of CO2 and 2 of water. Then what you need to do is, now this is something new, you're trying to write the equilibrium chemical equation. Now notice this all goes in one direction. If it's equilibrium, it should have the arrow sign going in both directions. So make sure you recognize that. Not all chemical equations are in equilibrium. We're going to pretend they're all in equilibrium. The only way you can have certain things be in equilibrium is if you have really, really high pressures, or really, really low pressures, or really, really high temperatures, or really, really low temperatures, or something like that. But we're going to pretend we have all those conditions when we're doing these equilibrium equations. First thing you have to do on the equilibrium equation, you put the products above the bar as a denominator. You can see here, carbon dioxide and water. But when you do that, you put a bracket, then you put CO2, the carbon dioxide, close bracket. Notice I did not put a plus sign there. You open up a new bracket, put water, H2O there, close bracket. So now you have the two products, CO2 and H2O. But look, you have an exponent of 2, or a superscript of 2. The reason you have a superscript of 2 is because you have a 2 in front of there, so a coefficient of 2 in front of the water. So put that as a exponent of 2. You have 1 there, so you don't have to write the 1. So you've got the numerator done. Then on the denominator, you use the products. The reactants, excuse me. You have methane, CH4, open brackets, CH4, close brackets, open brackets, O2, close brackets. How many methanes do I have? 1. You don't have to do anything with that. How many oxygen gases? I have 2, so you have to put an exponent of 2 there. Once you get that done, then this is the equilibrium chemical equation. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Continuing on. Now the short answer questions. On here, the first question is always going to ask for each one of your questions. There's going to be 5 short answers, or 8 short answers, 5, I think, 5 short answers. What are the reactants? The reactants are methane and oxygen gas. What are the products? Carbon dioxide and water. Simple stuff. What do we call the numbers in front of the molecules? They are called coefficients. We covered it already. How many atoms of each of these elements that are in this molecules are there? We already covered that in the balancing, but we have 1 carbon, and we have 4 hydrogens, and we have 4 oxygens, and that's on both sides. Notice they have to be the same on both sides for it to be balanced. You have to balance this first before you can come up with the short answer questions, as well as when you're doing that question there, that had to be a balanced equation or you could not do the calculation, okay? Hopefully everybody's got that down, and we're going to be going to, I'm going to do two other videos because I want to make sure we have enough time for those. So anyway, thank you very much. This is for question A.